Kia ora everybody, you're tuning into Dr. Burst from Tamaki Makaurau and Aotearoa. For those tuning in for the first time, this video is part of a public activation called the Avondale Pavilion project. Each month, we get a different writer and or artist on board to repaint the pavilion structure in the heart of Avondale at Avondale Art Park. We're surrounded by the local legal wall here, and the idea is really to update the pavilion every couple of weeks, capture the artist painting in real time, while pairing that video with a conversation with the artist. In this month's video, we sit down with Race from A2D, who is a Glen Innes local. I recall seeing his work predominantly in East Auckland, but I would say that he is one of the most notable people in the past 2 years particularly that has been making a really solid contribution to the quality of graffiti coming out of the scene here. So let's crack straight into it, and Race, if you could introduce yourself and let us know where you come from.
I'm Race and I come from GI.
So let's start off with your upbringing, because I'm really interested to know about your background. Were you born and raised in GI?
Born and raised in GI? Oh, actually no, from out west, Newland, from out those ways, and then moved into GI about 86.
What prompted your family to move out there?
Well, I was in the kid age, man, so I really had no idea what was going on about moving there so young. And yeah, my parents moved us out there. I guess they was a better life out there, I think. So that was the way it is.
And when you arrived in Glen Innes, what school did you go to?
I went to Glen Taylor Primary. From Glen Taylor Primary, moved to GI Intermediate. From GI Intermediate, Tamaki College. Only for a year at Tamaki. And yeah, those are the schools that I went to.
What was it like studying at Tamaki College?
Tamaki College. Oh man, back in the day, a lot of fights. That's what I was.
Scraps.
Yeah, scraps. No, it was non-stop. But it was that era of Bloods and Crips. That or what was going on around that time.
And that's the reason why people were fighting?
That's why people were fighting.
Damn.
Bloods and Crips. That's it. No, it wasn't about anything else. It was just between Bloods and Crips.
Were people actually put down into Bloods and Crips, or were they actually kind of like representing a gang or something? Nah.
People just rip Bloods because their cousins were in it, so they would rip it. No, these are just school kids back then. Their cousin was part of a gang. All of a sudden, they're in a gang because their cousin or their brother was in a gang, and then they ripped that at school. That was the thing back then. It was a lot of the kids wanted to be down because of all the siblings and all that were in gangs. Yeah.
With all of the Bloods and Crips stuff happening, did you ever rep a side?
Me, nah. My brothers were in gangs, but no, I got a hiding just trying to rip. Yeah, it was one of those ones, man. I mean, I tried. I wanted to, all that stuff, but it didn't work out. And at the same time was a dangerous thing because pretty much you're a target at school. And gangs back then, they wouldn't target gang members, they would target family members. So during my school days, I did a lot of running on the run because my brothers were in gangs.
That's crazy, man. And speaking of repping aside, were there many other gangs in the neighborhood that you know of?
Well, you had your usual, mobsters, black powers and all of that. Small gangs, but they were ripped by like other Tongans and Samoans mainly. The TCGs, CCBs, can't really remember the gangs from back in the day, but there was a lot of small gangs. Yeah, so there was just a lot of small gangs. It wasn't really like one big gang, but it was kind of weird because everybody was from the same neighborhood and everybody's up against each other. It was kind of hard to try and dodge a lot of gangs because there's gang there. But you wouldn't class them as gangs. They were pretty much just a group of dudes hanging out, but they both were gangs.
In what period of time was this?
Early 90s, from 88 to about 96, between that time.
You mentioned quite a lot about gangs and the Bloods and Crips, but for somebody that doesn't know too much about GI and what that was like, how would you describe life living there during that period of time?
Oh yeah, I would say scary. It was scary. It was your typical tagged up neighborhood. It was that time of graffiti was all over the place, gangs, and it's kind of hard when you're from the neighborhood and you're trying to explain to them that it's a good neighborhood even though there's gangs. But me coming from there, it was a good neighborhood. But other people probably saw like, nah, that's one of the worst neighborhoods you want to go to. But that's the way it was.
Yep. And just a little bit earlier, you mentioned that you only stayed at Tamaki College for 1 year. What was the reason that was so short?
I actually left. I moved to the islands. I went to I'm Raro, so I moved to Raro, and I stayed there for 5 years, and then I came back. I actually was only supposed to go for a holiday for 2 weeks, and loved it that much. I didn't want to come back.
So you went over for a holiday, but I'm guessing you also have family and relatives who live there?
Yeah, all my family is all over there. My dad was the only one that came from the islands, and raised us up over here. Wasn't really much going on for him over there, so he figured I'll come over here, raise my kids here.
So what the hell did you do in Raro for 5 years?
Pretty much nothing. I went to school there, but then I went to the school over there, New Zealand attitude. It was like back then, it was all about stealing and, just a real bad kid. Everybody over there was, that's the island way. You listen to your elders and all of that, and then started trouble. I was a real troublemaker in my young days and got kids into stealing. We couldn't steal cars over there, so we were stealing motorbikes, little scooters. That was my life there. I only stayed in school for 2 years over there, and then my old man just pulled me up because I was just trouble. And then started working inside a plantation and then.
Reflecting back on your experiences of your time in Raro, what would you say was the biggest lesson that you learned while staying there?
For me, nothing. I didn't learn anything over there. I wanted to learn the language, but it was so hard back then because they wanted to learn English. So I was caught up in, oh man, I don't understand this guy. He wants to learn English. I want to learn my tongue. But then he was like, people over there, but learning something because time went fast. It was so hard to learn something. What I learned over there was clubbing, drinking, smoking, being bad, everything but good. And then went to church on Saturday to repent.
Cleanse your sins.
After you came back from Raro, you moved back to Aotearoa. What was the plan moving forward from there?
The next thing, when I came back, I wanted to go back to school, but I was way behind on school. Spelling was a problem. So many things. And then I decided. I heard they were running courses in it, so I jumped onto a course, the typical builder's course. I had pretty much my life wasn't even sorted out or anything. I had no drive on what I just thought. I'll be a builder. Went from there.
When you were studying at secondary school, were you already creatively inclined?
I was from primary school. From
primary, yeah.
Dominated the whole school.
Sick.
My actually first comp that I won was for the Auckland Zoo. I drew a panda, but more realistic panda. Everybody was just drawing animals and that. And then this was before I was about to fly out to Raro, like my last year of school. High school, the same thing, dominated in high school. But then high school kind of changed for me because art was more about patterns and, weaving and I wasn't used to that at all either. That was art. That was art class. So they weren't teaching you characters or the stuff I like was like comic books and cartoons. Yep. It was kind of hard. College, when I got to Tamaki College, that was exactly the same thing. It was something I wasn't really into. They were doing portraits and all of that, but at a real low level. And I just wasn't into it. I've always had a art background since I was young, but school artwork wasn't working out for me.
And so where did your graffiti journey begin? Was that already at high school?
It actually did. Same thing as everybody else. tagging in your books and all of that. Graffiti actually started for me from my brothers back in, actually no, not from them, from 1990. There was one guy that used to go tagging around, Too Proud, and this is GI, and Simply. These two guys, I see a lot of their tags, and back then tagging was the thing. Everybody wanted that tag name, and but then there was names like a lot of superhero names, but that's where it pretty much started. But I didn't jump on board. I did get into tagging and all that stuff, but I didn't take it as seriously as I do now.
And how would you describe the graffiti scene in GI at that time?
Raw tags, that's it. It was just straight tag everywhere. There was no pieces. There was pieces, but not as much as tags. Back then, all I saw was a lot of tags. Pieces on the tracks only, but I didn't really see much. It's just a lot of tags.
And during that time that you were living there, who would you say was maybe, say, I don't know, 3 people that was the most up?
Too Proud, Simply, Masada, what's his name? Crybaby. I can't really remember a lot of the names from back then.
That's a really interesting list of people because I actually haven't heard of those people before. But kind of, I guess, aside from the tagging, when did you kind of transition into painting pieces?
2003. 2003 is when I started getting into pieces. It might be earlier. First time I met Rice, me and him worked in the bar, and I didn't even know that he was a writer. So me and Rice were both bartenders, and then because I had an art background and all of that, I told him, the club owner, hey, can I paint the walls or something? Just brighten up the place. So I painted the walls. They said, you can do that. Got some cans in there. Started doing a piece in there, and then Gary walked in. I just met Gary that day, and then he was just freaking out. I was like, holy shit, bro, I didn't know you could piece up in here. And he shot off home. He went home, shot home straight away, came back with his book, and had his book and photos, and showed me all his pieces. And I'm not too sure if he was riding Rise then, but yeah, then he did something as well, inside their bar. And that was probably 2002, and then but that was a one-off thing for me, and then I stopped, and then got back into it about 2004. That's when I decided, I'm gonna stop piecing.
That's so dope, man. And during that time when you first started, did you ever have a mentor or a painting buddy or somebody that kind of guided you in those early stages of graffiti?
There were so many. I wanted to go out and paint with so many writers, and you pretty much fell to that place. You're a toy. You can't hang out with us and all that stuff, But I did meet other guys. I think the guy that would be Dial, met him down at the handball courts, and I started getting to know him, rather than not as a graffiti artist, just as a person. So him has part of it, is part of it, my whole upbringing of getting more into graffiti, Fat One, Attitude, that whole lineup. It just started building from, started meeting other writers and all that stuff.
I mean, that's a great list of writers who's obviously contributed a hell of a lot to the scene. But in relation to your graffiti itself, how would you describe the style of graffiti that you paint?
Mine is all over the place, pretty much. I've always wanted to try so many styles. It's not about I'm not really looking for my own style, but I do want to try different styles. And
experiment.
Experiment the whole thing. Probably add that style to that style. Yeah, it's pretty much all over the place. One thing I'm happy with is I'm not afraid to try something, regardless of how bad it would look. I will still try and pick up on it and try and at least learn the skill. It's never perfect on the first go, but that's something that I've accepted. I've accepted that my piece may look like shit, but I've accepted that, and it helps me grow as an artist. That's one of the things.
And who would you say are maybe 3 local people throughout Aotearoa, or writers, that have influenced or inspired your direction?
That one. Oh man, just the style, color combination. It's just the whole, he makes it so easy, man. And it's you actually like when watching him paint. It's just so easy. Like he makes it look so simple, and at the same time, it's not like he's rushing anything. It's just like a normal day. Just being on that level, like you're so comfortable to paint and still talk at the same time with other people and finish it off. It's just that's the flow that I wouldn't want to be in a way. Time, I'm not even worried about time. I can still catch up with people and all that, and still paint and still finish it, and it's still dope. Of course, the whole change of styles, of that whole build up towards right now, and looking at stuff that you did from back then, and then to now, and not just in graffiti like that, but like to the point where now you running like the battles, and you had those like courses or something. All of that going on. So many different projects, but it's all in graffiti. So you
Appreciate it.
Another one, Teams was one for me. I watched the guy freestyle a character straight out of his head and letters, and just blew me away. Like and for somebody that's like from Rotorua, there are other writers out there that I would name, but I would say Teams. He was definitely up there. I got to meet the guy, know the guy, paint with the guy. Even took the time to drive down to Rotorua to visit him. He's definitely somebody, because he bring that whole just straight out of the head, and it was just without a sketch or anything. They kind of blew me away with that. Printed in his head already, and he just stuck to himself, just carrying on. And the guys were just watching like, man, this guy, it's just, there is no sketch, no nothing. And same thing, it was just like a normal Sunday for him.
And who would you say are 3 international writers that influenced or inspired you?
Can too, definitely. Hands down, letters, pieces, background, production, the whole works.
He's got the package.
The package, it's all there. I also did like, oh man, I forgot his name. Right now, so much is running through my head, but I can't pick. Pretty much the stick-up kids. I just love their work. Like Atom and Wow. Oh, well, actually, bro, I would say Mad C. She was definitely up there. Like for me, like it blew my mind, man. Like monster, bro. I didn't even know you could do that stuff, but I was like, what the hell is going on, man? But yeah, Cantu, Mad C, Totem, bro. I loved him because how he did with characters and turning like objects into letters and all of that. His whole 3D, I love his work. Yeah, technical as, and I'm like, man, what the hell? It's guns, but it's letters, and it's like, what the fuck?
It's great to hear that backstory about you, but on another note, I know that you're also part of a crew called A2D. Could you tell me a little bit more about that crew and how it formed, and who are some of the members that are in that?
Oh man, A2D, world's smallest crew. 3. That's it. Number 3. There's only 3 of us in there. Hoax runs A2D. I first joined A2D 2004, 5, I think.
Did Hoax found that crew?
Nah, it was another dude. I don't know much about the history, but the other guy that started A2D, he's not around anymore. So Hoax ran it, but there was Hoax and I think a guy called Artist. They were both running, and I think the other guy fell off. And then I met Hoax, and I actually asked him, Hoax, hey bro, are you looking for any members or something? I actually wanted to join the crew. I was painting by myself, I ran into him and then I asked him about his crew and he said, oh, it's only two of us. And then I said, oh, you want to join us? Like, yeah, man. Jumped on board with them. We did expand the crew of other members, but then they kind of fell out, started having babies and new careers and all that stuff, and life pretty much living. And now there's three of us, myself, Hoax, and Caesar. Caesar has always been around. We knew that cat when he was young. He used to see me and Hoax painting a lot, straight from school, in his school uniform, walking across the field, hands up, ready to shake hands. I mean, I don't want to brag on about the story of Caesar, but he's recent. Still got a lot to learn, but yeah, but that was pretty much how our crew is right now. We do want to add other members, and it's kind of hard right now.
Over the past 2 years, I feel that you and Hoax have really turned up the heat and stepped up the quality of graffiti in terms of like productions at least. It's really awesome to obviously see you make that effort and to paint something that's really cohesive and powerful. Could you tell us a little bit about how that kind of collaboration works with Hoax? Like, do you always have like a very sketched out thorough plan, or are things kind of like freestyled?
We plan everything. I will come up with a idea, concept, and all of that. Try different things. While we're doing the designing the whole thing, we do plan our wall, what wall we're gonna paint. But we do want to try stuff where, what you call it, man? It's like on dangerous grounds, just step out of the box. So there is a whole process going on between with me and Hoax, where we will plan the whole thing, prep up our sketch, and we will plan it for like a month ahead. So we'll have a whole month of planning for a production wall, when me and them will paint together. But when it doesn't fall right, we end up freestyling, and that's just the way it is. But
some things that I do think is missing in the Auckland graffiti scene is a sense of cohesion between people's pieces, commitment to a certain kind of level of quality, and I guess an overall mindset of how much energy and effort people are willing to kind of give when they're out there painting. I mean, an example of a wall that demonstrates all of these qualities, I would say, is something that you recently painted at the 312 Hub in Onehunga with the Pinocchio wall. That's super dope. How long did that wall take?
That took us a long time. All up, I would say there was 4 days, but we had maybe 2 bad days. First day was killer hot. Oh man, it was a day I'll never forget. The second day, pissed down the rain, and it's like, oh man, not winning at all. Yes, Auckland weather just changed, and then we had the next 2 days where we could finally paint, and weather was all good. But that took us roughly, I would say 2 days, but it was over 4 day period. But yeah, that was kind of like a step in for both of us. We went with the whole wood idea that was planned, and did the whole Pinocchio idea. I came up with the whole idea with Pinocchio, and I was telling Hoax about it. I said, oh bro, look, you know how Pinocchio tells a lie and his nose will go long? I was like, yeah, bro. And I said, oh bro, we'll write, paint the Pinocchio, and then we'll write, I'm a real toy instead of I'm a real boy, and then they'll know it's a lie. But yeah, little things like that me and him like to work on. So we both put work into planning our wall.
Obvious question, I think, but what do you think is more important, quality or quantity?
Quality, because one piece can just fully destroy, man. For me, in my eyes, man, like you drop something that's really dope as fuck, man, people will remember that wall. So you can put out 100, 1,000 pieces, bro. Yeah, people know you did 1,000 pieces, but then we'll say you drop one dope ass burner that people will remember for a long time. It's crazy. Good example, that Mad C, what's that wall? That, like, I remember that by herself, that massive wall, you know, the work put into that, but it's like, and it's like from the start to the end.
I know everybody is strapped for time, money, and resources, but I feel that the general kind of, I guess, mindset of writers these days, and maybe writers in the past too, is to kind of just rock up to a wall and bang something out and then leave. I don't think that there's enough time spent for writers developing and refining their work stylistically. How do you think we could change this mindset and establish an idea that quality does matter as much as, you know, say the action of painting graffiti?
That's what's going on. How do we change that? Probably for me, I would say good writers to write with them. You know, there's nobody there to show them. Even just me, I mean, they would love it. They will be keen to paint with top writers. Even though they'll be afraid, but like they will be like, oh man, I'm gonna be painting this dude. He asked me to come out, and I think the best thing is, say if it was for me, I would invite that guy. It's a good feeling for them because, you know, they're not asking me. You know, I'm asking them, hey, babe, why don't you come out and paint with me? You know, and they get their whole like keen. And if somebody asks, man, definitely they're gonna reply, yeah, but then they'll have the whole like, oh, but I didn't have much paint and blah blah blah. But I think that's one thing that will kind of drive them to like start, you know, progressing, improving on their work, because they right next to somebody that's dropping burners, and then at the same time they can learn something.
Alongside graffiti, you've started painting other forms of subject matter like portraits. What has been the motivation for you to focus on that?
Motivation, well, my father did a lot of portraits and all of that. He actually painted me as a baby, which I still have the photo at home, the painting of it. I picked up on portraits from him. You know, he taught us how to do portraits and all of that. I did go to other art schools and trying to like tweak it up a little bit. But that was something that I wanted to add into my graffiti, because after seeing stuff in like, you know, overseas, you know, you see a lot of, you know, pieces and realistic characters and all of that, and I think it's a whole skill level thing, you know, which is really good. You know, you can really look at detail work with it. That's what I like. I like the whole detail thing. I'm still picking up, still learning with the spray can, slowly picking up the idea on how to get it done.
That's really dope, bro. And I obviously mentioned that you've been painting portraits, but what do you enjoy painting the most?
I would say, man, that's hard. It's pretty much both, man, but I do like letters. Letters, yeah. I like painting letters, bro, because you can change it. There's so many things you can do with it. With a portrait, you can't really. With letters, you can do, man, stuff that's not even done yet. You know, so you can really destroy with letters.
And in closing to this conversation, what would be maybe 3 bits of advice that you would give to some emerging writers coming into the scene now?
Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to try something new. And try something new. No, don't think out the box, man. Destroy the box. No, think like that. No, regardless if you make mistakes or what, or if you're not even good at it, this is the best way to learn. But you got to learn from your mistakes, and accept whatever work you put out, regardless if it's shit or what. They love it. This is how you will grow.
Love it, bro. And just to wrap everything up, do you have any shout outs that you'd like to make to anybody?
Shout outs, yeah. Shout out to the crew, A2D, Hoax and Caesar. Shout out to all the young fellas going hard out. But advice, you know, go in the game and all that. And shout out to all the old school writers. It's still in the game.
Awesome, bro. Thank you so much, Race, for joining us and sharing your perspective with the audience. I really appreciate your insights about graph, and I guess hearing a little bit about your renewed focus and energy that you're kind of bringing to your work, and the quality of work obviously is incredibly high. I'm really excited to see what's going to be popping off for you in your next couple of years, and how you're going to continue to contribute to the graph scene here in Aotearoa. So in closing, if you like the content, make sure you subscribe and leave a comment below. We definitely have more content on the way next month, and we'll be sitting down with my good friend Icarus from DTR, who's making his way up to Auckland from Christchurch. And for those that don't know, we did a real-time web series episode with him a little while back, so I'm really excited to revisit his kind of progress and see the developments that he's made since we've made that episode. So thanks again for tuning in. Peace.